Got ourselves an update here on the James Pearce Jr. situation, and I'm just going to warn you guys right now, it's not a great update. Falcons fans, welcome into Falcons Today by Chat Sports. My name is Moose. In case you have not been following along with the current James Pearce Jr. situation, a new update came this morning from Mark Raimondi, who has been doing an excellent job of keeping up with all the facts of this case and reporting it accurately and without any bias. And he basically said WNBA player and ex-girlfriend of James Pearce Jr., Rickea Jackson, remains cooperative and willing to testify at trial against James Pearce Jr. So here's what we know, Falcons fans. His ex-girlfriend is not willing to drop the charges, at least based off of what I'm reading right here. That's exactly what it indicates to me. They did say that they want everything handled swiftly. They wanted everything handled appropriately, and Adam Schefter doubled down on exactly what Mark Raimondi came out and said. So we can see from multiple reports and multiple reporters that have been covering this story, not just myself, it does appear like the hot water continues to bubble for James Pearce Jr. And it is bad news, right? Because when sides don't drop the charges, that usually means a punishment is going to be handed down. And look, he can enter a plea and he could take a sentencing, or he could fight it in court. But if he fights it in court, it gets dragged out along further and further and further, meaning a prolonged time where we just don't know if James Pearce Jr. is going to take the field. So, speaking of, I'm going to ask you that question right out of the gates because it feels like something that we need to at least address out in the open. I'm not going to ask you to subscribe on this. I'm not going to ask you to like the video, but I am going to ask you, will James Pearce Jr. play for the Falcons next year? My answer right now is no, but you let me know in the comment section down below. Also, if you're watching during our live show, get down in the live chat and answer that question right now. Here is the full statement from Mark Raimondi and ESPN on the James Pearce Jr. situation. WNBA player Rickea Jackson's attorney filed a court notice Tuesday in Miami County saying that she is willing to testify against James Pearce Jr. if the domestic violence charges against him go to trial, according to the document. In a notice of appearance and a notice of victims' rights, Marsy's Law, Jackson's attorneys requested the court be deliberate on all possible resources and personnel to the case to conclude it as soon as possible and bring justice to her and the people in the state of Florida. So, obviously, they're not willing to drop the charges. They want it filed and want it handled quickly, discreetly, and with haste. And the charges are what they are. We've talked about this a couple of times before. He is facing 2 counts of aggravated battery, aggravated stalking, fleeing and eluding police officers, aggravated battery of a law enforcement officer. That's probably the most deleterious to him right now, is that fourth one right there, and then resisting officer without violence to his person. Now, like I said, obviously, if she's willing to testify, she's not dropping the charges. I don't think the state is going to drop charges on this either, and that's why it doesn't just stop with her. So for everybody thinking that it stops when she drops the charges, he's facing charges against the state of Florida after he hit a police officer. And Mark Raimondi said that there's pretty much irrefutable evidence that he did this. It goes on in his article to say this. According to the affidavit, officers saw Pearce standing on the outside of his SUV on the driver's side with the door open. An officer pulled a gun on Pearce and ordered him to get on the floor. Pearce got back into his car and closed the door. The officer opened the door, but Pearce shut it again, locked it, and drove away. While Pearce was driving away, the SUV struck an officer in his left knee. So I'll read that one more time in case, we don't want to get any of this misinterpreted. Pearce was driving away. The SUV struck an officer in his left knee. The affidavit describes it as intentionally in an attempt to evade arrest. Police followed Pearce's vehicle and cars until Pearce crashed at an intersection. Pearce then got out of his car and fled on foot. Officers were able to catch up with him, although Pearce began to resist arrest by tensing his arms and not allowing officers to apprehend him. I don't see this being dropped, guys. After reading that, I don't see this being dropped. It's unfortunate, but sometimes in life you got to roll with the punches. And this is just one of those things where, I'm not a police officer, right? So I can't tell you from a police officer's perspective. My aunt is a police officer, though, and I touched on her really quick with her thoughts about this, and she said if he hit a police officer, they're not going to drop it. They're not going to drop it. Most likely won't drop it. So I can just tell you this right now. It doesn't look good for him. Again, I can't speculate on anything because I don't know the ins and outs of the case other than what you guys know, but that's just my 2 cents on it. Kevin Stefanski also touched on it as well. They asked him about it at his press conference today, and he said, there is really nothing to add here. Our coaches will refer to the statement that was put out by the Falcons, which was, we are collecting more information at this time. So here's what the next steps involve. We know now what happened. We know what she's claiming. We know what the state is probably going to do. What are the next steps? Well, I think there's really only 2 things right now that we can actually consider. Do you suspend James Pearce Jr. or do you release James Pearce Jr.? And I don't know what the right answer is right now. All I know is the Falcons have something written in his contract about this specific type of situation, and we will touch on that coming up here next. And like I told you guys, this is a tough situation. I want to give you guys the facts, but I don't think he'll be playing for the Falcons in 2026. Now, before we continue on with the James Pearce Jr. situation, I have to give you a big shout out to my friends over at Harry's, who are the sponsor of today's video. As the hairiest guy you know, with 5 o'clock shadow on my back currently, because I just shaved it like 3 days ago, I have to tell you that Harry's is the best product to address your personal grooming habits. And let me tell you, if you guys have a razor that dulls too quickly, irritates your neck, if it costs way too much, $30 for refills is insane. You got to get Harry's Plus. It's the heaviest razor handle ever made from metal, never plastic, designed to fit comfortably in your hand. With heavier metal means more control and a luxe feel. It doesn't just make razors, though. They've got a full line of grooming essentials, from shave gel to deodorant to body wash, all thoughtfully made and priced up to stock. All of Harry's blades and grooming products can be delivered, by the way, right to your door. Set your preferred schedule and never run out of blades again. For a limited time, our listeners can get the Harry's Plus trial set for only $10 at harrys.com/chat. This set includes the all-new Harry's Plus Razor, one refined 5-blade cartridge, a 2-ounce foaming shave gel, and a travel cover to protect your blades on the go. Just head to harrys.com/code chat to claim this offer, and after you purchase, they're going to say, hey, where'd you hear about us? Please support our show and tell the Moose from Falcons Today sent you. By the way, the NFL has already kind of done their investigation on all of this. NFL spokesperson Brian McCarthy told ESPN on Monday that the league has been in contact with the Atlanta Falcons regarding this whole situation with JPJ, and that's all they would be willing to say on it, by the way. They didn't go into detail, but if the NFL has already been in contact with the club, you can pretty much assume that they're working on a punishment fit if the charges stick. Spotrac, though, by the way, getting back to the contract, they put out something very interesting. Falcons edge James Pearce Jr. as a 3-year, $7 million fully guaranteed remaining on his rookie contract, plus a 5th-year option available for 2029. And per the terms of his contract, a suspension would automatically void the remaining salary guaranteed. So he wouldn't see a penny of that kind of money. Now, I read somewhere that it goes back to the team. Again, I'm not a contract writer, but I can only reasonably assume that the Falcons don't want to jump the gun on this, and they don't necessarily want to release a player immediately without knowing that, hey, he's going to face significant jail or prison time, because in the event that it's just a suspension or a probation, then obviously you don't want to release James Pearce Jr. If you can't. But this also isn't a James Pearce Jr. specific sort of deal. NFL contracts constantly have this kind of jargon in there for players about getting arrested and not being available. So here's what I think is most likely going to happen. If you guys want the easiest explanation from Moose, this is exactly what I was talking about with other chat sports hosts, people that I know, have been in contact with about the league. And essentially what I think is going to happen is the NFL is most likely going to put James Pearce Jr. on the commissioner exempt list. Now, in case you're wondering what that is, the NFL describes it as this. The commissioner's exempt list is, in effect, paid leave. So the Falcons would put James Pearce Jr. on paid leave. A special paid leave status for players facing serious criminal charges or off-field misconduct allegations. While on the list, players are not allowed to play football, but instead, players are permitted to attend meetings, go to workouts, receive treatments at the team facility. This list, by the way, in recent years has also included former Atlanta Falcon Michael Vick, Jonathan Vilma, Greg Hardy, Josh Brown, Reuben Foster, Kareem Hunt, and CeeDee Lamb in 2024. So I think an indefinite suspension is coming for at least right now. Indefinite meaning there's going to be no timetable on this. The NFL will say James Pearce Jr. is suspended. We will let you know when we decide an appropriate punishment. That's my guess. That could be 10 games. That could be 12 games. That could be the entire season. That could be 2 seasons. It just depends on what the court wants to do in the legal case of all this. Because even if James Pearce Jr. gets everything passed and, he doesn't face any prison time, he still has to contend with the league. The league still has to hand down their punishment as well. Meaning what? I don't think James Pearce Jr. is playing in 2026. I don't think he'll touch the field. 2027, who knows? That's just my prediction. I don't think you're going to see him suit up for the Atlanta Falcons or any other team in the NFL in 2026. Which means we're going to have to lean on some other players to kind of make up for the James Pearce Jr. sack productivity. 10.5 sacks is a lot. Brandon Dorlus, Zach Harrison coming off of IR. Braylon Trice, hopefully he's able to come out and actually stay healthy enough to find time on the football field. But all 3 of these guys, maybe you re-sign David Onyemata, maybe you re-sign Arnold Ebiketie or Leonard Floyd. You got to make up for it somehow. You have to. But as of right now, it does not look like James Pearce Jr. is going to suit up for the Atlanta Falcons in 2026. That's all I got for you on this episode regarding James Pearce Jr. Obviously, with more information, we'll make more videos and deliver the news to you guys. So do me a favor, smash that subscribe button. We did cross 51,000 here on the channel. I appreciate that. So we only need 979 to get to 52K, and then we're just going to stack on top of that as we go along. As always, Falcons fans, rise up and be cool.